Welcome back to Exquisitely Aligned. I'm Gina Meyer-Vincent, the host and your personal soul shifter, here to help you define and design the future you desire and deserve, the one where essentially you become exactly what's missing in the world. Today, I have someone here who has done exactly that, Karrie Mitten. Karrie is an award-winning transformational life coach, speaker, and best-selling author, passionate about empowering individuals. A master practitioner in NLP, mental and emotional release, and hypnotherapy. She tailors programs with compassion to help clients live a life they love. Again, I salute that as well. Karrie also enjoys family time, community service, and eWomen Network, which is how we met. So, Karrie, I am so happy to share this time with you. You're a brilliant, beautiful soul doing amazing work, and I know we can probably talk for days, but thank you for joining me this morning. I'm so happy to chat.
I am thrilled to be here, Gina. And, I do feel like we have so much in alignment with each other. And I was really excited to have this opportunity to share with your listeners, the talk that we're going to have today. So I'm really excited about it.
Yes. And as everyone knows, nothing is scripted here. We like to have fun. And I love that you are open to that, Karrie. There's so many things. I wrote just a few little buzzwords for myself to remind me. But let's first go with a presentation you were doing to the beautiful women at eWomen, where you were speaking or giving a voice to what it was like. I don't remember the age, but you were speaking about a conversation your dad had with you and how you heard it at that age with your ears in a different way than I believe what he said. And I think this is such an important story. I knew when you were up there with the mic, I was like, oh, this is great. We need to talk about this on the show, because so often we see the world with our eyes, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but our experiences, what's going on during that given moment, that day. My daughter found out recently that a girlfriend of hers from middle school, elementary, K through 8 school passed away. Unfortunately, she learned it was suicide, and here we are in Mental Health Month, right? And so her day yesterday was very different than 3 months ago. And so we hear and see things and experience things differently based on what's going on around us and our past experiences. So do tell, without further ado, do share, because it was so brilliant. And so the other word I'm going to say is refreshing, to be able to hear how you were able to see the difference.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. And this was really a pivotal point in my life. I was about 17 years old, sitting at the dinner table with my parents one night, talking about going to school and going to college and what I wanted to do with my life when I grew up. And quite frankly, I was irritated by that question, because I thought at 17 I was already grown up, right?
Well, yeah, that's a great point, because that is so true. It is. And I remember feeling that way too. Like, I understand the entire world, better than you people, exactly. Better than you old people, right? Yes, now I'm like ancient compared to.
Like they had never been in my shoes before, right?
Correct. Right. The world's so different,
Yes. So we started talking about, what I really wanted to do, what was my passion in life. And I said to my parents, I said, I'm very creative. I love to be creative. But I also love to serve people. I love to be around people and lift them up and motivate them and inspire them. And so we started talking about it. And my dad, with his business mindset, he said, well, maybe it's some type of nonprofit work or something like that. Does that spark an interest in you? And I said, I kind of did a little bit, and I thought, yeah, that kind of does maybe. I had my mind open to a lot of different opportunities. And in that moment, my dad, out of love and protection for me, nothing less,
right.
He said something that changed my life. He said, Karrie, you probably won't make a lot of money doing that. But in my mind,
Right.
I heard him say, you'll never have success going after your dream.
Right. And that's a huge, so repeat that one more time slowly, because this is huge, especially I have a daughter going to graduating on Thursday. By the time this airs, she'll already be graduated, but a daughter graduating high school, going to college, U of A in the fall, and a son who just graduated with 2 majors from USC 2 weeks ago. And so this is so important. I think it also happens in marriages and so this is father-daughter conversation, but I think also husband-wife, boyfriend-girlfriend, right? Siblings, having adult siblings. So say it again, because it's so powerful.
So he said to me, he asked me if it would be something, it would be nonprofit work. And I said, maybe. That sounds kind of interesting to me. And he said after that, you probably won't make a lot of money doing that. But what I heard him say, and I made a decision in that moment based on perception, and we can talk about perception in a moment, but based on my perception, I heard him say, you'll never have success going after your dream, going after what you want to do. And in that moment, I made that decision that, okay, well, my dream isn't important.
Yeah.
What I want to do isn't really going to lead me into the success that I'm seeking. And we do that often. Based on our perception, we make decisions based on what other people say. And then it translates into the results that we have in our life.
Absolutely. There's so many layers. Yeah, keep going.
So I'll finish the story real quick, and then I want to talk about perception.
Not quickly. You can go. It doesn't have, if you do. So I'm a New Yorker by birth. I do move fast and talk fast, but I don't do all things like conversations quickly. So don't feel rushed.
Thank you. So I based my future on that decision that I made in that moment. And I listened to the opinion and the approval of my parents. My dad said I should go into sales and marketing. I should go get a business degree. I had a face for sales, right? He told me that. And so I listened to that. And that's what I went into in college is business management. And then when I got out of college, I went into sales and marketing because that's what he told me to do. Right. And you can use your creative juices, you can use your creative energies, and you can help people by selling them products and services that they deserve to have. Right. And that was just my perception of, okay, yeah, maybe I'll do that. Right. But I also, in the back of my mind, recognized that, what I wanted to do really wasn't worthy of going after because I made that decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so all through my corporate life, I was in corporate America for about 25 years.
What did you start when you were 2?
Thank you for that. No.
Okay, 25 years. And I've worked in corporate and I didn't last 25 years. So God bless you. And you still look vibrant.
It's because what I do now is my soul, right? It's what I'm doing now. But at the time I was, I did all the things that I was told to do. I dressed the part, I played the part, I acted the part, but that was really what I was doing. I was acting it. It wasn't satisfying my soul at all.
Right.
And what I would do actually was I would get to a level where I was making some success, and then I would self-sabotage because I had in the back of my mind that success wasn't happening for me, that I wasn't going to be successful.
Right.
And so what happens is your subconscious mind goes out and finds evidence of that, whatever you're telling it, right? So I was telling myself, no, this isn't for me. This type of success doesn't happen to me. And so then I would go out and I would do things to sabotage my success.
Yes. Yeah.
And it ended up where I had the success on the outside, and a friend of mine actually called me up and she said, you're great at sales and marketing. Would you like to come and work for me and see what that looks like and potentially have an opportunity to buy me out of my business, which was an employment agency. So what I did was I went and I asked all my business mentors, all my friends, everybody else, if this was a good idea, not listening to my soul again, right? Listening to the opinion and approval of other people, right? And I said yes, and I jumped in thinking, gosh, well, I could serve people by putting them to work. I could find jobs for them.
Yeah.
And I was in that position for about 18 months. My husband and I had invested our entire life savings in this business because I also followed the shiny bouncy ball. Right? There was a lot of money to be made in an employment agency. And about 18 months into it, I found myself across the table at a deposition for a workman's comp claim. A woman that I had really worked hard to find a position for her in corporate America. She had a great job, but she was suing us for workman's comp. Even though we had offered all the, all the medical attention and all the things, she still, did that. And I can remember sitting across the table from her while she was telling lie after lie about me, about my business, about her alleged injury, right? And I kept thinking, I can't serve people if they're not willing to be served too. I mean, I can't force them into something that they're not wanting to have. And I recognized at that moment that this was not my dream. Yeah. That this was not what I was looking for. And I had all my corporate life kind of been fitting a square peg into a round hole. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I drew a line in the sand at that moment. And I said, you know what? I'm worthy of my dream. I'm worthy of my goals. I am more than capable of having incredible success. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm going after it. Yeah. And I went back to the office. I resigned with fear. I mean, fear gripped me. I didn't know if I was going to get our money back, our investment back. I didn't know if my husband was going to divorce me because I was leaving a very lucrative position, right? I didn't know if I was going to be the laughing stock of the community because all of these people had told me that this was a good thing. Right. But I knew deep down that if I didn't go after my dream now, that I would never have the opportunity to do that. That this was, the universe, God, whatever, calling me into more. There was more for me. And so I did that, and I've never looked back. I found a program that I absolutely fell in love with, and now I'm certified to coach that program. And I've written my own programs. I've written books. I've done all kinds of speaking opportunities. I mean, I'm living my dream life. At 58 years old, I'm finally recognizing that I made that decision when I was 17 years old that shaped my future. Based on what somebody said that I interpreted and made a decision on. We do that so often.
And exactly. That's what I was going to say. It took the words right out of my mouth. No. And so number one, thank you for sharing so transparently. I think that's, many times people feel vulnerable when they share. And so they don't want to be judged, or fear of being judged, or somebody twist what I said. That's not what I meant. This is what I said. So first I want to commend you for that, because I think as we share, I wouldn't have a podcast if people wouldn't share, right? That would be problem number one. But problem number two is when people don't share, we miss the opportunity to connect on such a deep level over something that we can teach and show the progression of how you were able to take these moments, these pivotal moments, and change and shift to the place where you are now, where you're glowing from the inside out, smiling. Even in your bio, you enjoy family time, which when I read it, I wanted to say, besides family time, community service and eWomen Network. All powerful things. And I know there's spirituality, healthy living, exercise. And I mean, the list goes on. I think when I work with clients, there's about a dozen facets to what I call life, where some people say work life. No, there's in that LIF, there's so many LIFE I can spell.
Yeah.
But so thank you for that. I commend you. And so I wrote a couple of notes. I think the first one I wrote, I hope if I'm going in chronological order, was right at 17. We have been, in my opinion, trained by the one size fits all paradigm, by our family beliefs, cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, our community beliefs, and maybe even our country, whatever, of what equals success. What should I say we start out as the little toddler looking for attention with the temper tantrum or the party dance in the diaper, which is oh so adorable, much more favored than the temper tantrum, right? Those are embarrassing, especially when they're in public. But we get to embarrass our kids when they're in high school. So at least, there's a payback.
Yeah.
Or when we bring out the bathtub photos, right? With their first friends coming over, adult friends. Oh, did we show you in the bathtub? Yeah. But, and then it goes on for like getting the approval of our peers in high school, college, and then acknowledgement, accomplishment, achievements, all those A's, like when we get married, to have a career and so forth. And so I think that was the first thing I wanted to point down, that we believe success, because society tells us that success does equal money. So if dad's saying, hey, you might not be eating lobster and champagne in the French Riviera, Karrie, are you okay with that? It is. And hey, as a parent myself, I would like my children to be eating lobster if that's what they choose in the French Riviera. My son's going to New Zealand in a few weeks on his dime after graduating college. So, I know I've raised kids that love to travel and eat well. And there were times when they told us, oh, money is not important. And I said, well, the thing is, money buys us freedom.
That's right.
And for our family, especially after my husband had his kidney and liver transplant, it provides us choice as far as being able to get the services at the hospital that aligns with us.
Right.
That saved his life. The other thing I wrote, let's see, what else did I write? When you were talking about opinion and approval of the parents, I mean, that's huge. I think that goes on after age 17 as well. And God bless you for being in corporate for 25 years. and noticing or acknowledging maybe that it wasn't satisfying your soul. I think that's something that I see often, and I know you do too with the clients you serve, is that sometimes people go on, we tell ourselves like this half truth, half lie, like it's okay. No one else's soul is happy, so that's okay. Well, yeah, that could be true, but that doesn't have to be true for you, right? Like, I mean, when Mark was sick, it was great for me in the sense of showing me life is really short, really can change on, and his was not an accident. It was, just declining health. But I think sometimes people experience an accident, and even if it's only a fender bender, but they see their life flash in front of them. And I don't mean only, let's take that word away, but a fender bender where they come out fine, frightened, but they can heal. But yeah, that all of a sudden it's like this wake up call. So I'm glad that you didn't have to have any kind of trauma or disease. I often find, I don't know if you do as well, that if people stay in that place where their soul is not being fueled, maybe fed, appreciated, acknowledged, all those words, then the light within them can start to decline and their health can go down the hill. Have you seen that happen?
Oh, I've seen it more times than I wish to to admit, actually. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm the firm believer that we have 4 bodies. We have the spiritual body, the mental body, the emotional body, and the physical body. And it's not that I'm a believer. This is science. Right?
Oh, it's true. Right. No, I agree.
And if we don't take care of that spiritual body, it will trickle down into the physical body eventually.
Most definitely.
Manifest as dis-ease, right?
Yes.
And I am an absolute advocate of making sure, and this is what I mostly coach my clients through, is getting connected with that here and now, that spiritual seat of the soul, so that you can, where all the power is, all the answers are, right?
Yeah.
And that is where you truly can learn to live the life you absolutely love living.
Yeah, the one that I believe we were born to live. I always told my kids, why can't I do what the neighbor can do or the kid, my best friend can do? Because you live in my house and it's our rules. Yes, mom and dad, you taught me that sentence. But, I always said you're as unique as your fingerprint. And so we have these beautiful gifts that are bestowed upon us, these talents, however you want to call them, that are missing from the world when we're not in alignment with all the things you just said. And Dr. Camilo Sanchez is my Jesus on earth in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I no longer live. So I don't get to lay on his table nearly as often as I used to in the past. But he would take the divining rods over your body, which are used out on farms to find the water under the ground before they start digging, right? Or to avoid digging someplace where they don't want water coming up. And he would show, how is the physical body, the emotional, the mental, and like you're saying, the spiritual. And it's true. I mean, Louise Hay, who I love, has left this beautiful earth, but left us with such wealth of information as to how that, in, I think, layperson's terms, let's say, how it does enter the body.
Yes.
And Dr. Masaru Emoto with his work, water, showing us the words. So I love that. The other thing I loved when you were speaking, I mean, so many things we could talk about, just what you said, is the success and then the self-sabotage afterwards.
Yeah, and that really is part of when I alluded to perception, right? My perception was that I was not worthy of success, right? So my subconscious mind goes out and finds evidence of that, right? It makes it so whatever I'm in alignment with is what I'm going to receive. And so I was in alignment with not having that type of success. And so things would happen that was in alignment with what I was thinking. And so our perception is it's a very interesting thing. Our perception is very different for everyone, right? Like you're talking about success. Success is, there's a multitude of definitions for success, right? But our perception is actually based on a scientific fact or process that we receive 126 billion bits of information coming at us per second. 126 billion bits. Our brain cannot process that much. So what we do is we delete anything that is not what we think we need to have. We distort based on our background or what our parents have told us or our culture or our religion or all of those things. And we generalize based on all that as well. So we delete, distort, and generalize all that information. And we only actually ingest about 26 bits of information. 26 per second. Yeah. So imagine, I mean, that's all of that information. We are running it through this gamut of things based on things that people told us in the past or our culture or, all those things. And boom, it spits out our perception. Right. So all we get to do to switch our perception is to open our awareness up a little bit further. So that we're still going to delete, distort, and generalize, right? But we open up our awareness a little bit further we can change the perception that we have. And that's what I did when my dad told me that I wouldn't make any money. My perception was, oh, I'm not going to have success.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I got older and started to realize, no, wait a minute here. I've been living on this old perception based on history, based on generations, right?
Yeah.
And I know that there is so much for me, so much potential, infinite potential in
Mm-hmm.
me. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I really started to open my awareness and change everything in my life. So.
And that is a conversation I had with another e-woman on Wednesday that'll already air before you and I. Is
Beautiful.
awareness. And awareness is always the first thing I try to work with clients is become aware. What is the voice in your head saying? Or what are you seeing? Or what are you, like you said, perceiving?
Yeah.
And when you can just stop for a moment, I think we live in this world that's so busy. I had a week this past week that got me, I was like, yeah, no, I normally don't schedule like that. And it just so happened I went out of town. Then my son said, I'm coming home. And it became this busyness, which took me away from sitting outside, soaking in the sun, meditating. So I got off kilter, I want to say, imbalanced for a few hours. And I was so tired. But if we can have the awareness, like I had to ask myself, why am I so tired? It's 2:00 in the afternoon. This should not, it's not, okay, 10 o'clock at night at this age. Yes, I'm tired. Unlike when I was my younger self, 10 o'clock, I was ready to put on my lipstick and go out dancing. Those days are long gone, but I'm glad I took advantage of them when I could, because that was a lot of fun. And I have fond memories. But that awareness is such a key piece. And I think that if we can slow our world down and just sit for a moment and ask, maybe take a hot cup of tea or a glass of water and just sit and sip and allow yourself, however long it takes you to sip a 8-ounce glass, a cup of tea or water, to just take a moment. That's when we can start, like you said, changing, shifting, whatever the right word for those listening at the moment, to be able to do like you did. And now the success that you're able, I love when you said, I think you said infinite possibilities, which, my deck of cards is opening to possibilities. And the intention is that they are infinite.
Yes.
And, the other thing that you were talking about that I loved is when you were talking about, having asked other people. When I speak, I like to take I'm a visual person. So I like to show a cup with some, food dye colored water. And that if we keep asking other people and we start adding yellow water to the already red, to then blue and this and that, and all of a sudden we got murky waters. We're crowdsourcing our confidence. And I think so often, I'm older than you, Karrie, so I was taught you needed a ride to the library to crack open an encyclopedia, which people don't know what that is anymore, right? That's how old I am, when the phone was attached to the wall and we had to look in the Encyclopedia Britannica to find out our answers. And it took a while, right? Because I didn't live near the library. My mother had 3 children, so she was often driving somebody somewhere. And I couldn't have an Uber back then because they just didn't exist. And where I lived, we didn't have public transportation. So it was a long process to get an answer. But nowadays we can Google it, call a friend, text a friend, email a friend, get on a Zoom call. But the thing is, I like to teach people to run it by themselves. I always think it's nice to seek advice, and we'll get to that because I saw something you wrote on your website that I was like, oh yeah, I agree with that too. Another little point in your biggest aha moment. We'll get to that. I won't forget it. But I think it's hard when we maybe take in so much. You were talking about how many bits per second, and some of those could be opinions. And, you know, it's, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, you know, I often work with my clients after they have kind of gone through the gamut, right, of seeking approval or opinions of other people.
Yeah.
And I share with them that, you know, the power that they have is inside of them. It's not
Yes.
outside of them. It's not their circumstances, their situations, or their conditions of life. And if we listen to other people's perception, right, then we are dampening our awareness and our consciousness. Yeah.
Like driving off the road, you know? Yeah, I always, you know, I oftentimes work with clients who've been through some kind of trauma.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Could be like when Mark was ill. I wasn't ill, but being along for the ride with a bunch of botched up stuff happening at the local hospital that we finally got out of. At any rate, I think that sometimes we think, oh, we're wounded or we're not good enough or whatever. This person has better information.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, we went through those hard times. It's like coal being pressed in the earth's surface, making these beautiful, radiant diamonds that are just so brilliant and sparkly and catch the light at the right angle. And, you know, I think all of those hard things become the brilliance that we can then draw from within to make those big, exquisite decisions that are life-changing, pivotal moments, etc. And the choices, like you were saying, being aware and then shifting to, yeah, no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really when you start to listen to your soul, you know, the spirit inside of you, listening to that still small voice, that voice of inspired insight, you know, the one that is connected to whatever your power source is, because there is a life force energy here. You know, some people call it God, universe, life force energy, infinite, whatever that is. There is a power that's bigger than you.
Yes.
And you get to stay connected to that. And that connection is inside of you. Right. And that power is always perfect, always whole, always seeking, always you know, everything that is delivered to you, all the challenges that we have, like you said, you know, pressed coal turns into diamonds, right? We have to crush grapes to get wine, right? I mean, all of those things, it's part of our human curriculum.
Yeah.
Part of our human curriculum. And if we listen to outside sources, it really does water down. Like you said, it muddies the water. Yeah. And it's not coming from the seat of your soul.
Correct.
Right? And you're really buying into the drama of other people. I mean, that's what it is, right? Their perception, their background, their history, their all of that. So
coulda, woulda, all of those. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that. The other thing you said was about the shiny bouncing ball, which I always think of shiny objects, but I love that description, shiny bouncing ball. Mm-hmm. And the thing I wrote next to it was that when you align like you did with your heartfelt desires and your soul level truths, using your gifts and talents that you were born with, that you were gifted, that's when the money comes, I believe, easily as a reward for you owning your own brilliance and following those desires. So do you want to give a voice to that? Like, I believe people come out of the woodwork to help support, honor you, introduce you, whatever there are so many.
Well, I mean, it goes back to, you know, we attract who we are. Right? Not what we want, but who we are. And so when I come from a space, you know, I tell my clients, you know, I was on the struggle bus for a very long time. You know, I was constantly in resistance to life. I kept feeling like life was happening to me.
Exactly. Not for you. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I'm taking away your words, but I'm like, yes.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, I felt like I was like life was happening to me, not for me and through me. Right. And once I recognized that pattern that I had and released that and
Yeah.
released all resistance to, oh my gosh, where's the money going to come from? How am I going to, where's my next, all of those things. And once I released that, money started to flow in more frequently and more fluidly.
Yeah.
Because I was not in resistance to it any longer.
Right.
And I don't worry about money. I believe money equals income equals impact. The more income I'm making, the more impact I'm having in the world.
Correct.
Bob Proctor, God rest his soul, loved him, but he said money is only good for two things. It's good for you to feel comfortable enough to make it convenient enough to give your gifts and talents back to the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So think about that. The more money you have, the more comfortable you feel to give it away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give either your time, your talent, or your treasure.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
And
all of the above, right?
all of the above.
I know you believe in that in community service, and you can
Yes.
read more about that on Karrie's website. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I really recognize that money is energy. It's a symbol of our freedom, but it's
Yes.
also energy. It's an energetic circulation, right? And so yes, I mean, I believe that we attract who we are, and so I just choose to be in a state of abundance and gratitude, knowing that money comes to me easily and effortlessly,
Yeah.
and that I'm able to put it back into the world, and in a way that is for my highest good and for the highest good of all.
Yeah.
And it's really has completely changed my life forever. I mean, I literally, Gina, I was constantly worrying about how am I going to get to the end of the month and pay these bills, right?
Right.
And how am I going to take this vacation, and how am I going to pay for all that? And now it's like, no, if God wants me to have that, it will happen.
Yes.
It will come into my life, and it will go out of my life, and it will be perfect and whole and complete.
And how, like, right, the energy of your voice, it's so relaxed. Those of us watching on YouTube and Experts and Authors TV can see you smiling as you say that. That's a totally different energy than, sitting with the checkbook, or, I'm old fashioned, but sitting in front of the computer with your checking account or your savings or whatever you're doing, with this nervousness, this tightness in the muscles around the neck, shoulders, hands, and again, for me, it comes with being exquisitely aligned, aligning with the exquisiteness in you, which is your dream, your desires, your gifts, and your truths. And then everything just comes abundantly to you as like a thank you, Karrie, for owning and being exactly what's missing in the world, So I love, so tell us, because we're speaking about finances, when you did resign, you had mentioned there was fear, right? Because what is the community going to say? They're the ones who helped me or advised me in this decision. I took some of their words, to heart. And then the investment that was both yours and your husband's, and your husband's reaction as like, okay, now what? How did that all three, how did that unfold? And the fear as well, where, how did it subside, etc.?
Yes. So what I know about fear is that when you take an action step towards your dream, your fear starts to dissipate.
Yes.
And I knew in my heart, I knew in my soul that there was something, life was calling me into something much greater than what I had done before up until now. And I had done some therapy, in my day. I had been through therapy, and it was great. I mean, it worked for me at the time, but it really wasn't what I was looking for. So I sought out life coaching. I sought out a life coach, and I don't say accidentally. It was out of the blue because it was in harmony and in alignment with what I was looking for. But I found a program called the Dream Builder program that I absolutely fell in love with, and went through that program. And it really taught me that fear is actually a sign and signal of growth. Right.
Yeah.
That fear is really showing me that I'm just on the edge of the reality that I've known. It doesn't mean that I can. It just means that I haven't yet.
Right.
Right. And so I also I knew in my soul when I left that position, I knew that fear was going to be a companion, but on the other side of fear is greatness.
Yeah.
And so I did it. I didn't think a lot about it. I didn't ruminate on it. I didn't marinate on it. I didn't percolate on it. I just did it.
Yeah.
And I knew that, my higher power, which I call God, it was going to take care of me because I knew that I was doing the thing that I was called to do.
Yeah.
And it led me down the path of life coaching. And I mean, when I look back on, everything that happened in my life, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for all of the challenges, all of the things, all of the failures, all of that, because it got me to where I am today.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't mean that I don't have challenges or failures, right?
No.
It just means that I now know how to navigate those better. And I'm on a path of upward spiral of my becoming, of my growth, right? And every time I face fear, I lock arms with fear, knowing that it's taking me up the rung of my becoming. So
I love that. I think that there are invitations in life, and oftentimes I speak of two of them. One, like when Mark was sick, that was extremely frightening, having the rug pulled out from beneath us. And I think that happens in our health, our wealth, our love relationships, or those like of our children, right? Something is, our child is struggling. And it doesn't have to be a young child. It could be an adult child. And then I think there are also times where, like you said, the fear of being on the verge of the unknown, right?
Right.
And I like to say, if you're feeling intimidated and intrigued, like about 50-50 or 49-51, 47-53, whatever that is, almost equal, that's a space where if you can step into that, you're going to grow. And maybe grow is the wrong word because I think we're all grown up, but to shift and expand are the words I'd rather use.
Yes.
And that on the other side, like you're speaking about, it's beauty, and the people want to support you and everything aligns. And I've had clients text me, it's happening. Can you talk? And I, always can talk because they have 24/7 access to me. And we get on the phone and what is it that's happening that I told you would, and people are seeing me like, this strange man said he recognized me from the, wherever. And then she's like, and I didn't recognize him, and then he described his wife and she's pretty tall and I didn't even know she existed. And it's like, yeah, no, you're being seen, you're attracting, like you were saying, what did you say before? We attract who we are, right? Or if you want to say likes attract, however you think about it, but the same, like all of a sudden from a yoga background, we're vibrating at a different energy. We're attracting the right things, the abundance and so forth. So in the moment when you told your husband what you were going to do or that you had resigned, because I forgot how you said the story, how did that unfold? What was his first reaction? Because I know sometimes, not sometimes, I often catch my husband off guard. We'll be married 25 years in October, but there are times where and then he's like, oh yeah, that's you,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he knew that I was struggling, in the position. But I do remember at the time I kept thinking, well, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
I mean, right? We say that phrase, and we say it because there's truth in it, right?
There is, absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, had I talked to him first, again, I'd be going back to seeking the opinion and approval of other people.
Right.
I knew in my soul, to the depths of my soul, that that I needed to do this, that I got to do this. And I think that, when I had the conversation with him and told him what I did, it came from such a place of not desperation, but more of true authenticism.
And I was going to say joy.
And yeah, I mean, there's some fear there too.
Yeah,
Right?
but I feel like your soul's telling me it was like joy. Thank goodness.
Yes, yeah, exactly. My soul was dancing around for sure. Yeah. I mean,
Not that you need to lose weight, but it's like that feeling when they cut my hair and I'm like, oh, I lost 5 pounds, you know? And the hairdresser is like, you did what? I said, well, you took off like 1/8 of an inch. I feel like I lost 5 pounds, you know? I could run a marathon now and I'm not a runner. You know, I just feel so light and airy. He's like, you're an airhead. No.
It was definitely a relief, for feeling for me. It was, he didn't take it well at first. He had a lot of questions,
Sure.
but he trusts me. We'll be married 35 years in September, and and we truly are soulmates. And he knew, I think that he knew all along that I was really just kind of going with the flow, taking things as they come, doing, listening, kind of fitting the mold of what life should look like, know,
what we're asked to be, those rules and roles. Yeah.
And, and at first, I think he was probably pretty angry, and he didn't voice that or, take out or anything, but he had a lot of, concern about, well, the investment that we made, number one,
sure.
Right? And then, the loss of my income, right? Mm-hmm. That was all the logistics stuff, when we really got past all of that and started talking about, what is it that your soul is calling for? What is it that you're looking for? He was very supportive in helping me to figure that out. And
go ahead. Sorry. I'll write it down. I'll write my question down.
And I mean, that is just that is that, when I did, he asked me, what are you going to do now? And I said, well, I really think I need some support. I need a structure of support to help me, get to where I want to be. And he offered, well, maybe you should look at a life coach.
Yeah.
And so, he's thrilled, that I have, evolved into who I have evolved into, because I was again, a struggled bus, frequent traveler, right? And now I am, I'm much more open in the flow. I mean, things, things just don't bother me like they do. I mean, I'm human. I have the human emotions, but I can handle things much better. And our relationship has grown tremendously, and he's evolved and shifted as well. So,
well, that's the whole thing, like, right. One person shifts, and, I've had some women, more than some. I've had quite a few women come to me and say, I think I'd like to work with you. Okay, great. Let's talk this through, see if we're a match, because I can't work with everybody. I'm sure you have the same issue. There's only so much time in a day. I only work with about 8 people at a given time because they have 24/7 access to me. But B, if somebody's goals are not something I see for them, I can't work with them either, because I don't, if they're asking to become a PhD in something that I'm not, like, I can't help you with that. I'm not giving out PhDs, and I'm not going to try and figure out how to be able to do that anytime soon. It's not my calling. But I've also had people say to me, okay, I'm excited, but you know what I've seen? I've seen a lot of women, when they shift and grow to whatever this new place is, they leave their husband. And I say to them, well, I've been connected to you via social media for X amount of time, and I don't get the feeling you want to leave him. Do you want to leave him? No. So what would make you think that if you better yourself that you would want to leave him? Like, if you're not annoyed with him now, and you feel like you're, like you just said, soulmates, you're been together, committed for 35 years, etc. What makes you think you're going to change? I said, you should go back to the people who you've watched and ask them, on your wedding day, did you have a feeling that you weren't meant to be together? You know?
Right,
Because I
right.
called off a wedding prior to the wedding day, 3 months before, because I knew I didn't think he really wanted to marry me.
Mm-hmm.
I, at the time, thought I wanted to marry him. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But anyway, but I knew he didn't want to marry me. And when I asked him, what percentage, he was 80% sure. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't work when you're young, healthy, parents are healthy, you have no screaming kids, no barking dogs, no bills. Like, yeah, 80%, I'm a math person. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
But, so I
Mm-hmm.
always find that that's interesting. So I'm very happy you brought that up, that it's even shifted him. I mean, I look at my husband also,
Yeah.
and all the work I've done for myself, on myself, and then with clients, he's shifted as well. And I find him sometimes telling patients things. He's like, oh, yeah, so I recommended la, la, la. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really, you did?
Yeah.
Like, remember years ago when you would never, ever, I was like, oh, that's so funny that now you can, or we'll be out to dinner with another couple. And he said, oh, yeah, you should try. And I'm like, XYZ, meditating, Tai Chi, whatever,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like laughing, but it does work. And if we have children, it trickles down, our friends, etc. I mean, it's attractive, right?
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
somebody steps out of that one size fits all mold, which doesn't fit anybody. I don't know who it was designed for. My daughter is 4'10" and done growing. Our son is 6'4" and finished growing. So, and there are people more petite than Sonia and taller than Kai. There's no one size that fits any of us. But when you step into the place where you did and had the courage, like you said on your website, that biggest aha moment, I'm going to read what I wrote because I thought it was so beautifully written. Biggest aha moment was realizing that none of us can do this journey alone. And applying this understanding to her life, to my life, was one of the greatest catalysts in your own transformation. And I think I like to tell people they can do it on their own, but it will take probably a long time. I did it on my own with a few mentors here and there. And it wasn't easy. And a lot of books, which they can't see, but I know you saw before we went to 2 people per screen. And, but that was my journey, because I was meant to also be able to write my own program and stuff, which I know you've done as well. But I love that you share that. And for me, when you say greatest catalyst, do you want to describe that? For me, it's like lightning speed when you get the assistance of somebody you align with, right? It has to be somebody it goes beyond know, like, and trust. I know we use that from a marketing standpoint, but it's really about who you value. And I mean, trust with your soul.
Yes. I mean, who do you have a heart connection with? Right.
Oh, totally.
And I, my mentor often says it's hard to see the picture when you're the one in the frame. Right.
Oh, yes.
And so that's why I believe, even in the Bible, it says where 2 or more are gathered, there am I, right? We're not supposed to do life alone. We're supposed to do life in community and in support of one another. And so that's why, I always tell my clients, you can do this on your own. You can, but the one person that we don't hold accountable to is ourselves. It's the first person that we let down. It's the first person that we put on the back burner, right? And so accountability and support are very, very important if you are looking for transformation. If you want to stay in the same default patterns of your life, that's totally fine. That's your choice. But if you're coming to me, if you've made an appointment, or you've attended a webinar, or you've attended a workshop, or you've read my book, or you've listened to my talk, that's life calling you. That's life seeking expression through you. That's your higher power saying, hey, take a listen. You need to step into this. And it doesn't have to be me, but it's I often tell my clients, wouldn't you rather have a tap on the shoulder than a 2x4 to the forehead?
Oh,
Right? Right? So it's important to listen to those whispers
yes,
when you get them, right?
absolutely.
Get into a
Absolutely. I love that. And I think that, the other portion is when you were speaking of teaming up with somebody like you in community, they say it takes a village to raise a child, right? I think it takes a village to keep a marriage together. I think it takes a village to keep people healthy, even. And we could go on. I'm going to leave it at 3. I like the number 3 always. But there is this. What also happens for myself with my clients, and I'm going to assume that it happens with you because we have so many overlying pieces, but you could then tell me yes or no, that the other thing I see big time is what somebody comes to me for the help that and I say, what do you envision? What they vision, again, because of the perception, like we spoke about earlier, this, where I see an expanded version. So those of you listening on Apple, I'm holding my hands tiny, like maybe a volleyball or a really juicy grapefruit, a big grapefruit, versus I see a world of opportunities. And I think that that's one thing that is very hard to maybe quantify on a sales page, right? We have these websites with these videos and sales page and stuff. But the truth is, people always ask, well, what are you going to do for me? What are you going to, it's usually not my ideal client, maybe just somebody I met through a networking group. What could you do? And I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe I'm probably not the person for you because it's really what we would do. And it's me taking them on the journey, like we spoke about, to the soul, the heart, and really exemplifying their gifts and showing them this really could make you money. Because oftentimes we think those gifts, like going back to the 17-year-old, are not going to bring in an income. Well, is that really true? I don't know. Maybe we have to explore deeper. But I think people have a hard time perceiving often what is truly possible, to use your words, the infinite possibilities for them. Do you find that to be, how do you see that appearing? Does it happen often? And then for me, it's usually in the beginning, and then a little bit towards like maybe 30% in, they're starting to see, oh my God, yeah, this is really like bigger than I thought.
Yeah. There's a couple things. Yes, absolutely. When clients come to me and we the first thing that we do is we create a vision for what it is that they would love to have in their life. Right. And oftentimes it's, well, I'd love to have my family happy, or I'd love to have a cat, or, and it's like, hold on a minute here. And what I do is I help them to step into their resourced self. Remember a time when you had incredible success and you were so proud of yourself. Remember that time? I want you to come from that person. And I want you to create a vision for what it is. I mean, an up-leveled version of you, right?
Yeah.
And then I, and I also ask them, going back to something we talked about earlier, I always ask them, is there anyone in your life that when you have this transformation, that they may take it, negatively, right? Is there anyone in your life that may take it negatively? Because I want to make sure that this transformation is not going to lead them down the path of divorce, unless that's already in the cards. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes, I do.
I make sure that they're resourced. They understand that they have the resources. They have the infinite possibilities. And then I also amplify my perception of what they're telling me. So their vision, they are, they're the highest authority on their vision. I'm not one to change it, but I can amplify it. I had a client who I onboarded this week, and she's moving to Washington, D.C. in August. And she's afraid. She's worried about, leaving her friends, and is she going to find friends there, and all these things. And when she talked to me about, I asked her, what would you love this transition to look like? And she told me, and I said, okay, here's the thing, Julie. I see you on the precipice of something beautiful here.
Right.
A book in front of you. On this side of the book is written. On this side of the book, it's not. The pages are
Yeah.
blank. You get to write this book. How
Yeah.
exciting is that? So what would you love to have in that book? Right. And so
Yeah.
then it becomes a bigger opportunity, right? Like,
Right.
but people do, they play small
Yeah.
to begin with, right? And don't recognize themselves as a resource with infinite possibilities. And so I hope that answered your question. I kind of went off.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Lovely.
Yeah.
So I see the clock and it's time we need to start wrapping up, which is kind of sad for me. But I'd love for you to share anything you'd like to share, last words, comments. All of Julie's information and her offers will be in the show notes. Please click on the link and help yourself. I know you will be enlightened and empowered, and I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really hope that people walk away from this recognizing that we are spiritual beings first, having a human experience, and that everything that happens in our life is within the circle of God's good. There's nothing outside the circle of God's good. And all the challenges, all the failures are here for our learning and growth. And so I'm really excited that we get to share that message. So
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do. Let's go ahead. So I opened the deck of possibilities, opening to possibilities cards. Because I can't see them the way you are, once you say stop, I'll have you tell me which hand it's in, or I'll lift, you tell me which one. Okay. So you go ahead, tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay, so there's 2 in my thumb. Oh, they're both similar colors. One has more white. Which one did you?
The white. The white, the white one, yeah.
Of course you did. It's love. Love is a dynamic essence. So I have 3 questions. You can choose to answer 1, 2, or all 3. What is your definition of love? How do you give or show love? Describe how you receive love.
This is an interesting question. What I always share with my clients is when they're in a situation where they don't know the answer, I ask them to ask themselves, what would love do here?
Mm-hmm.
What would love do here, right? And because I believe that we are love. We're born of love. We're delivered. I mean,
yes.
This whole life is about love, and so we get to presence love in any way we possibly can, and it's by being our true, authentic self and listening to that soul inside of us that knows the answers, loves us unconditionally. And I really, that's what I do. I presence love everywhere I go. So,
yeah. Well, it shows because you glow, and I've been in your presence and you can feel it. And I think that's important. I remember one time when I was teaching yoga, I was talking about, it was Christmas time, and I was teaching at church yoga. And I said something, I know I made thoughts for each person kind of before I made these cards. This is where this came from. And so I wrote something and gave it, everyone picked one, passed it around. And one girl I wrote, what would it be like if it was Christmas every day? And she was like, oh, and you could see her face like cringing. And I was like, no, what if you walked around with the love, peace, and joy that you have in your heart right now for the holidays? And that spirit carried 365 days a year. Could you imagine what the world would be like? It would just be, and we have that opportunity to choose to live that. And yeah, if we get imbalanced, like I shared earlier, I was exhausted. How do I need to have that awareness that I have to go change my perception by sitting in the yard, being in nature, because that's what fuels me, and then come back, or maybe for somebody it's take a nap, turn off the phone, whatever that might be, so that we can continue to choose that awareness of being present in love. So you're so delightful. Thank you for becoming exactly what was missing in the world. especially after 25 years in corporate, which could really drain a human being. And thank you to your husband for supporting you in that as well. And thank you for all the work you do along with sharing your message so transparently, beautifully, and eloquently with us today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Gina. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Look at Karrie's information in the link below. And if you're interested in stepping out of a corporate job or stepping out of wherever you are because you know it's not aligned with your soul, reach out to Karrie or myself. My information is down there as well. And we both offer opportunities where we can chat with you and just see if we're a match. Till next time, be exquisite.